Jerusalem Dateline.
This week on Jerusalem Dateline, a dramatic shift in the Middle East as Israel's neighbors seek help from the Jewish state. Plus, is it safe to visit Israel? We'll ask those who braved the bad reports and visited the Holy Land. And the end times and the secret of the Mahdi. One author asks if the Islamic Messiah could be the Antichrist. And hear what U.S. legislators have to say about Israel, the Middle East, and their faith. Shalom and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Julie Stahl filling in for Chris Mitchell. We're coming to you today from the Haas Promenade overlooking Jerusalem. Israeli and Jewish leaders say that despite the dangers in the Middle East, there are some promising developments. As Chris Mitchell explains, those developments bode well for the Jewish state.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told visiting Jewish leaders from America a dramatic shift is happening in the Middle East.
Major Arab countries are changing their view of Israel. That is, that they don't see Israel anymore as their enemy, but they see Israel as their ally, especially in the battle against militant Islam with its two fountainheads. The militant Islamists led by Iran and the militant Islamists led by Daesh.
That new relationship was evident when major Jewish leaders from America met with the presidents of Turkey and Egypt.
There's a wind of change in the region. I think there are new opportunities.
Malcolm Hoenlein led their Jewish delegation to Cairo and Ankara.
The difficulties and challenges of the region, terrorism, the ISIS threat, the role of Russia and Iran and others in the region are driving countries to reassess their relationships with Israel. And I think they've come to see that Israel has a lot to offer, whether it's the problems of water or agriculture or fighting terrorism.
Hoenlein says Arab leaders told him the West has left a leadership void in the region as Arab countries face daunting challenges.
Some of them see the absence of the West in the region and cite that, feel that there's a vacuum, and they're looking to find solutions within the region to some of these challenges, and also seeing the involvement of Russia, which different countries see in different ways, but all express concern about what will happen with Iran post the deal with the influx of $100 billion. What role will they play in destabilizing the region?
Hoenlein says in the midst of these challenges, they see Israel as an ally.
There are ways that we can be of help, and I think building relationships with Egypt, with other countries, with the Gulf, with Turkey, and helping move them in the right direction. Again, it won't be an instantaneous change. There are opportunities, though, to counter the extremist forces because all of them see that they are endangered by it as well.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
When many people consider a trip to Israel, they wonder, is it safe? But as Chris Mitchell reports, most people that make the trip find it a destination beyond their expectations.
Much of the world only knows Israel from what it sees on television news or reads on the web. That typically includes images of violence and words like oppressed. But what's it really like in Israel? Based on what the news media shows, many wouldn't expect to see shopping, restaurants, and people going about their daily lives. For example, this is the Mamilla Mall, just outside the walls of the old city. It's a combination of restaurants, shops, and cafes. We talked with first-time tourists about their perception before leaving and the reality they experienced after their arrival. What did people say to you when you told them you're going to come to Israel?
They questioned it. They said, do you really want to do that? Is it safe?
Did they say you were crazy?
That was a very common comment. Are you crazy? And I said, no. You know, nothing was going to stop me. You know, people couldn't talk me out of it. So.
And how did you feel before you came? What was it like?
Probably a little apprehensive, but excited. You know, we just couldn't wait to see where Christ has walked, and it was more than I expected. It was amazing.
Some felt coming to Israel might send a message in fighting back against the growth of terrorism.
I had some friends who said, why don't you come along? And I thought, oh, I'm not sure I should. It might be a little dangerous. And then I thought, goodness, life is dangerous. Really, I came from the Boston Marathon. I mean, you know, there's so much going on that I'm not going to worry about it.
If you stop moving, the bad guys win. It's ridiculous.
Tuvia Zaretsky arranged their tour with an eye on ancient history and current events.
You know, I told them I wanted to come over here and look at the world that's here and the people that are here and the places where the Bible events took place. And for them, it has been an eye-opening experience. And it's in the context of Israel today.
Samuel Smadja has led tours here for more than 20 years.
Israel doesn't come in the category of tourist destination. Israel is not the Bahamas. Israel is not even Paris. Israel is not even Rome. I believe Israel is the stage of your faith. And I believe coming to Israel will encourage you in your walking with the Lord.
And what was it like after these tourists made their leap of faith to come to Israel?
The Israelis really have their act together. Felt very comfortable. The people are wonderful, they're very professional, they're very caring, and they really want to make us feel welcome. It's a very sophisticated, cosmopolitan city.
And they did know Israel has been experiencing its own wave of terror.
They told us there are places you definitely don't want to go, but there are places in any city in the United States you don't want to go to.
Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat told CBN News, despite the current violence, Jerusalem is a safer city than most.
We have the best police in the world. We have the best security forces. Per capita, we're safe as London when you really check the numbers. So actually, when I fly to America, I pray to come back home safely to Jerusalem because the crime rates in America are 6 times more per capita than in Jerusalem.
And how did these Christian pilgrims feel after walking in the footsteps of Jesus?
Oh, it was quite moving. It brought me to tears a few times. There's not another feeling like walking where Christ has walked.
I don't think I'll ever read the Bible the same way anymore.
Yes.
I've been so moved by being here. I would not trade it for anything.
It also brought the Bible to life.
For me, it really tied the Old Testament and the New Testament together in ways that I could not have done had I not come here and seen the geography and appreciated the history.
I really believe that after you come to Israel, you'll never be the same. For several reasons. First of all, you'll read the Bible in a different understanding. You'll be able to visual whatever you read. And you'll be able to understand the Jewish Christian background of the Word of God. And you'll see how deep your faith is. And my prayer is that when you come to Israel, you will leave here praying for the peace of Jerusalem.
And what would these 5 say to those who warn them not to come?
I would say you've got to go. It's incredible.
It's safe and a wonderful experience.
We were already talking about coming a second time and maybe bringing either our kids or our grandkids because we really want them to experience being here.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Up next, could the Islamic Messiah known as the Mahdi actually be the Antichrist? We'll talk to one author who thinks that's the case. A popular pastor has a new book out showing how most violent Muslims are trying to bring their Messiah into the world. But Dr. Michael Youssef suggests the shocking surprise that figure could turn out to be the Antichrist. Paul Strand has more from Atlanta.
Over the centuries, people have guessed wrong again and again that the Antichrist, that ultra-violent world dictator, was soon to appear. But Dr. Michael Youssef of the Global Outreach Ministry leading the way believes only now are conditions set for the coming of that evil one.
What Dr. Youssef's found and talks about in End Times and the Secret of the Mahdi is how what's going on in our world right now is leading straight towards those events prophesied in the book of Revelation.
I came with the conclusion that we are coming into that period of time like we have never seen before in history.
Hailing from Cairo himself, Youssef deeply loves the Islamic people, but believes Islam is hurtling us toward the dark days of the Antichrist, as the promo for his book shows.
He will lull the world into believing in him, even worshiping him as their Messiah. But he will end up abusing humanity like they have never been tormented before.
This biblical scholar's been researching Islam's beliefs in their end times Messiah, alongside the Bible's revelations about the Antichrist. His conclusion?
Christians know him as the Antichrist. Sunni Muslims know him as the Muslim Christ. Shiite Muslims know him as the Mahdi.
Youssef quotes Muslim scholars on what Islam preaches about their Messiah.
Their Messiah comes. He's going to cover the whole world. He's going to rule the world, and he's going to declare himself to be a Muslim, and he's going to turn on the Christians and the Jews. And we know, of course, the Bible said the Antichrist is going to come, and he's going to turn on the Christians and the Jews.
Other parallels he sees between the Mahdi and the Antichrist.
He will call himself the man of peace, that he's going to come at a time of chaos and confusion and people longing for somebody to guide them and lead them and bring them peace, because they will be worn out.
Both the Bible and Islam talk about his 7-year global reign from Jerusalem, and that this figure of peace will turn hyper-violent.
He's going to begin to persecute people. He's going to demand them their worship. Same thing on the other side, that he is going to kill everybody who does not worship him.
Youssef says some Shiites have actually been trying to bring about the prophesied time of the Mahdi to make it happen themselves.
He will appear when the world is in chaos, and he will bring peace. So Ahmadinejad, the former president of Iran, basically wanted to stir up trouble and get the nuclear weapon so they can attack Israel and create an atmosphere of chaos so that to force their Mahdi, or the 12th Caliphate, to show up.
And some of the most violent Sunnis are also trying to set off the end times.
Particularly those whom the Middle East people call Daesh or ISIS or IS. They also have that concept that when chaos and bloodshed reign supreme, and that's why they're shedding so much blood, that their Messiah will come.
So if Pastor Youssef's belief is correct that this Muslim Messiah will be the Antichrist, it's the first time in history believers of a major religion have been actively working to bring him into the world and welcome him. But Youssef insists, do not fear.
The Lord said, when you see these signs, lift up your head, because the day of your redemption is drawing nigh. And so far from being afraid and worried and concerned, we should be rejoicing.
Many believe the Bible warns that the world will be deceived by Antichrist's global false religion, at first tolerating and bringing all religions together. In his book, Youssef talks about the already popular Coexist bumper sticker, with the Islamic crescent forming its C, the Jewish Star of David for X, the witchcraft or pagan pentacle dotting the I, the Taoist yin and yang symbol for S, and the cross of Christ as the T. Already,
there is something that is rampant among mainline denominations called Chrislam. And there are churches in Canada and the United States where they read from the Quran as well as the Bible.
But he adds that there's a way to be immune from false religion.
If a person is a genuine believer in Jesus Christ, he will not be deceived. That the Holy Spirit is going to give us discernment, that we will be able to tell the difference.
And though they may be cursed as intolerant, Youssef preaches it's time for Christians to insist Christ is the only way, not just one more option.
We don't hate anyone. We love everyone. But there's only one name under heaven by which men and women can be saved, and his name is Jesus.
What Dr. Youssef emphasizes when he broadcasts here from Leading the Way, or anywhere he goes, is that we Christians need not fear all those scary events in the book of Revelation, but we do have to go through that horrifying time of the Antichrist before we can get to the victorious return of our Christ. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Leading the Way, Atlanta, Georgia.
Coming up, are U.S.-Israel relations on solid ground? Hear what 3 members of the U.S. Congress have to say about that and how their Christian faith influences their work. How solid are U.S.-Israeli ties? I had the opportunity to ask 3 visiting members of the U.S. House of Representatives recently. They also spoke to me about the role their faith plays in making decisions, their take on the Middle East, and what they did while they were here. Here's what Vicki Hartzler, Jeff Miller, and Greg Harper had to say.
We went to the north and had the opportunity to see Iron Dome and David's Sling, which is very important for the national defense here as well as potentially in the United States down the road. And so enjoyed seeing that. Of course, visited with Benjamin Netanyahu and the defense minister. So that was an honor to visit with them and to let them know how much we support them and what they're doing and how we appreciate our friendship with Israel.
In addition to that, we've met with some local mayoral officials, and I think getting to know the local people helps really understand where the state of Israel is today.
How would you describe the state of Israeli-U.S. relations?
As it relates to the Congress, I would say that it is still strong. The House and the Senate both are very strong supporters of the state of Israel. Now, if you interject the president and some of his policies in, it becomes a little more political, and some of our friends on the other side of the aisle will go with the president on his issues. But I think that our friendship has been made to last forever.
They certainly have been strained a bit, no doubt, the perception anyway, but I hope that people will keep in mind, yes, the president struck a deal with Iran that the members of Congress overwhelmingly opposed. So we don't want to create the perception that this deal with Iran means that there's any weakening in the support. And certainly Congress, controlling the financial aspects of the budget and, of course, an omnibus that we did in December, you can see within that document the level of support that exists for Israel.
Many of America's Middle East allies have felt a little bit betrayed in the last few years. Do you think there's anything that can be done to redeem those relationships?
Oh, absolutely. You know, not only do we have Israel as a friend here, but we need to stand with Jordan and Egypt and some others in the area who traditionally for years we have been partners with. And it's very sad how they're questioning, are you still with us? We're in a position now because of the poor decisions and policies of this administration where our allies don't trust us and our enemies don't fear us. And we cannot continue down this road.
Sometimes it seems, sitting on this side of the ocean, that the West just doesn't get it. What do you think could be done to really let people know that the Middle East really is important to them? What happens here does affect them.
We have a current level in many areas of the news of a rewrite of history and also sometimes bordering on propaganda. And so how do we get to the truth? And so we would hope that we would teach our children not to accept the professor's word in a liberal university or a liberal professor in a class that says that this is Israel's fault. Look behind that, challenge that, and go and see. And I think you'll find a completely different story than what's there.
I think really the only way that people can understand what happens here is to travel here. And once you travel and you see the geographic impediments that are here in the state of Israel with the placement of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and how narrow the country is at certain places, it's very easy then to realize how difficult it is to protect the Israeli people.
How do you feel your faith plays into being a congresswoman?
It's a calling. I believe it's a ministry that we have. And in Romans it talks about that those who are elected or authorities are God's servants to do you good. And that's our role. And every day I try to seek His guidance and just like David did, inquire of the Lord. Certainly the prayers of the people of the country make all the difference because there's a spiritual battle going on in our country.
Every day I look to God for guidance in many of the decisions that I make. I always say that if I can lay my head down at night and sleep well, I know I've made good decisions that were backed up by facts and what I truly believe in, and the very root of my beliefs are rooted in the Bible.
It affects everything, every element, and you know that you have a responsibility to do the right thing and to know that whatever we do, I can't do it in my own strength.
Anything else you would like to add?
Just that I know that we spend so much time talking about the daily pressures that are here, the attacks, the terrorism, and sometimes we lose sight of some of the great success stories that are going on in Israel. I mean, it is an amazing land, not just from a biblical, historical perspective, but also this is one of the great high-tech centers in the world.
The promise says in Genesis 12:3, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and all nations of the world will be blessed through you. And I think that's why America has been blessed over the years, is because we have stood with Israel, and we can't turn back on that. We've got to continue that, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's where the blessings of the Lord are, and for our country.
Up next, Desperate Syrian refugees receive life-changing help from Christians in Iraq. Samir and Ilhan looked over their shoulders and saw their Syrian village in flames. They fled the marauding ISIS forces and made it to Erbil, Iraq. Though they were safe, that wasn't the end of their troubles. Samir couldn't find work and their baby was sick. But in this next story, we'll see how Christians are helping them.
Ilhan and her husband Samir fled their village near Kobani, Syria, the night before ISIS overran the city.
We left everything to save our lives. I was scared that a horrible death was coming for us if we stayed.
We could see the black smoke rising from Kobani behind us. We were so afraid. I thought they would capture my wife and enslave her. The helplessness makes you feel crazy.
They made their way to Erbil in Iraqi Kurdistan, hoping to find work and start a new life as refugees. What they found was a daily struggle to get by.
I worked construction, but I stepped on a nail and got tetanus. Now my leg hurts so bad that I can't do hard labor. That is the only work available for refugees. I feel so desperate and frustrated because I can't provide for my family.
The rent is so high, and no one here wants to help refugees. I can't work outside the home because women are oppressed here in Iraq. I'm so worried about getting what my baby needs. I also have a typhoid infection, but we can't afford medicine.
When I met with the family, I learned Ilhan worked as a hairstylist when they lived in Kobani. So we took her shopping and bought her everything she needed to start a salon right in her own home. CBN also got the family food and medicine to treat Ilhan's typhoid. And people from the church we partner with regularly talk to the family about the love of Jesus Christ.
Thank you so very much for doing all this for us. We have been desperately searching for hope. You gave that to us when everyone else turned away.
I'm really very grateful because you gave us so much. We appreciate all that you and the church have done for us. We will never forget this.
That's it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and now Instagram. I'm Julie Stahl. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.